Hey yo, what is up? And welcome back to another PPP podcast. We're your hosts, Voica, the Vodka, Yatina, Yvette, and Megan, aka my gambling pangolin the fourth. Let's get right into it. So today's theme is about being special. So, what does that mean? Why do people want attention? Why do people want to be special? And the not like other girls, guys phenomenon. Today is also our season finale. That's right, we've done 5 episodes already. We're gonna have a second season, and our second season is going to be about being political. Let's get right into it.
So obviously, right off the bat, why do you think people want attention? Why do people want to flex on other people and be like, oh, I'm so this, and have people react to them?
Can I chalk it up to a primal instinct? I feel like people are I want to be better, I want to be stronger and faster. That's our predatory instincts, because you know how lions and tigers and bears and whatever, they all want to be the best. They all want to be at the top of the clan. They all want to be they want to get the most food and they want to get the most mates, and I feel like that's just our instinctual vibe,
Well, I don't know if this is scientific, but I always thought it was because if I say, oh, I'm so special, I'm so strong or whatever, I can be useful to society, and everyone would be like, oh, you contribute so much, and I'd be like, yeah, I do, and stuff like that. But then that's kind of weird because we're trying to be special in order to sort of fit in and be useful.
A lot of people are special by not fitting in, and that's kind of the weird conundrum, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people, those big flexers, they want to flex because they want to be important, right? Mm-hmm. But then the people that get the most attention are usually the people that don't want to stand out. They just kind of want to vibe,
Oh yeah, what about influencers, on YouTube and stuff? They basically make an income on their personality. And what you said about how people who are not trying to get attention actually get the attention, is that sort of bad for influencers and stuff?
I mean, I don't know about influencers. I feel like influencers are an entirely other category on their own, because at the beginning of YouTube and social media, it wasn't about you getting the most money and you getting the most attention. It was mainly about being able to talk to your friends and make funny videos. But I feel like once the influencer community grew, people started wanting the attention and wanting the money, so it became more about seeking attention rather than just getting it for being yourself.
I think if you're an influencer, your whole income is based off of being special. If you're not special or entertaining, you're not going to get the money that you need, in order to get food, to get housing, to survive and be successful, right? So modern society is based off of being special, because if you're not special, you're not going to really succeed in life.
Yeah, I saw this video once, just reviewing YouTube, and I came across a really good point that the YouTube job is simultaneously the best job and also the worst job to have. Because first of all, it's the best job because if you're very successful, you not only get money for people watching your videos, but you get a lot of good feedback too. Because I know for a lot of popular videos, a lot of the comments are oh, this is so good or whatever, and they're really engaging with the content, and that would make you feel really good. But also, it's a really bad job because once you're out of that YouTube bubble, once you're in your daily life, it's just very different because you're not special anymore. You have to get used to the fact that you're not who you are on camera. You're just another person in society. And I think that's really interesting.
Right, but regardless of whether people relate to your content, really love your content, there's always going to be people that are oh, this sucks, you're so bad. And I feel a lot of people chalk that up to oh, there's always haters, haters are just everywhere. But I feel that's a wrong mindset to have. Hating on people for the sake of hating on people is just wrong, and people are oh, well, there's always haters, but that's not a really good thing, Mm-hmm. Regardless of whether you have people loving your content and giving you great feedback and great constructive criticism or whatever, whatever, those people that just hate on you for the sake of hating on you, that's gotta be really bad, right? Like, for someone's mental health. Like, imagine just, like, seeing hundreds of comments, like, every day, like, stuff, like, that's gotta hurt, man. That's really gotta hurt.
About hating, I think you have a really good point about how if you're saying that, oh, they're all just haters, it's sort of like making an excuse for why people hate you. But I think it is possible to literally hate someone for no other reason than the fact that you hate them. Like, haters are real, right? There are people who literally hate on others just for being themselves.
Right, and it's literally, like, so toxic. That's, like, cancel culture right there. Because once people get it in their minds that they're gonna hate someone, that just continues until other people learn about why this one person hates them, and then it spreads, and then all of a sudden it's like you just lost like 15 million followers, you know? Like, that's
Our sense of individuality is so warped these days. So, like, going back to what you guys are saying about hating on people is so easy because they're so, like, different from you. And going back to what Voica was saying, once one person says they hate this person for one reason, everyone jumps on the bandwagon and starts hating this one person because of how they show individuality and, like, how they present themselves to other people.
Yeah. You know the whole in-log thing about, like, being not like other girls or whatever? I know that there's a lot of people who are like that. Like, I know them personally and I also know them on the internet. And then there's a lot of people who are hating on that, right? Like, someone says, oh, I'm not like other girls, I'm so quirky, I'm so gothic or whatever. And then people go like, oh, you're not, you know, stuff like that. That, I feel like, is sort of a legitimate reason to sort of, like, hate. I'm not a really big fan of the whole not like other girls thing. But, I don't know, it's still hate culture, right?
I feel like I get why people would not like that, because it's become a trend to just, like, lie and label yourself as something that you're not and then be like, haha, I'm not like other girls. But at the same time, it's also cancel culture and it's also, like, toxic culture. I feel like you can't hate someone just because they want to present themselves as unique, but at the same time, if everybody is presenting themselves as unique every second of every day and saying they're not like other girls and they're saying they're so different and, like, so gothy and, like, so sporty or whatever, I feel like you can be at least a little bit annoyed at the people just, like, lying to get attention, you know?
And the fact that they're sort of condescending about it too. Like how some girls are like, oh, I'm not like other girls, and then they kind of look down on other girls. That is also toxic too, because you shouldn't be looking down on others just for being different from you, even if you don't think they're unique or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, diving deeper into the in-log thing, like, why do you think we have such, like, a tendency to say I'm not like other girls or other guys?
I feel like it's just a huge, like, bash stereotype. People assume that girls are supposed to be pretty and wear dresses, and then whenever they don't, suddenly you have the right to say, oh, I'm not like other girls and guys. That's completely just giving into the stereotypes. That's just not very good.
I mean, I went through a phase like that back when I was 11 or 12. It was really short, but I remember just being like, oh, I hate the color pink. Oh, I hate wearing skirts. I remember it was skirts. It wasn't dresses. It was skirts. And I was like, oh, I can't wear skirts. I gotta wear shorts. I like shorts. It was such a weird phase. It was like one of the worst phases of my life. I remember it. I still cringe to this day, but I'm not gonna look down on people for trying to be like that, because I was like that. And it felt nice. It felt really nice. Felt good to be like, I'm not like other people.
I think at one point we've all gone through a phase. I know I did. All of my friends were, like, loving the color pink, and I was like, I hate pink. Like, I never want to see pink. I just want to wear, like, shorts every single day and pants every single day, and I don't want to wear these stupid skirts. I went to one of those schools where I had to wear, like, the same uniform every day, and, like, part of the uniform was, like, wearing these, like, plaid skirts. And I would always be like, no, I want to wear jeans. And like, it was a phase of my life. I don't cringe at it. I was, like, 7, but, like, I really wanted to be, like, more than what, like, society expected of me, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It was fun. I mean, I don't judge people for wanting to do that, but doing that, like, every day of your life and being a sporty girl when other girls are also sporty, like, and then claiming that you're, like, better than them because you're not wearing a dress, like, it's kind of sus to me.
I sort of had that phase too. Back in, like, 7th grade, I remember, like, I was talking with the girls in the locker room, and I was like, how come you guys, like, always care about your crush? Like, what is up with that? Are you guys so self-conscious? Like, what the heck? If they don't like you, they don't like you, you know? And then karma, so now I care about everything.
Are you ashamed of it, bro?
I mean, like, I didn't really care about anything, and I was like, you guys kind of suck. Why are you caring about this stuff? If they don't see you, then what's the point of liking them? I don't know. Looking back, I feel like a terrible person for thinking that.
I mean, to be fair, it's a good sentiment. If they don't like you for who you are, then you should stop caring. But at the same time, you can't just be like, oh, you should stop caring about other people. Let's go. Like, I love that, though. I love that. Honestly, same.
I think all of us, we had that phase just because we kind of wanted to be proud. It's something to do with pride, for sure. Because I remember when I was like that, I was so proud to be like, not like other girls or whatever. And I kind of looked down on other people. So it's like pride and arrogance. We had issues, that's all.
Honestly, though, true. I feel like there's this like whole debate in society about stereotypes, and I feel like years have been going into giving girls this image, you know, like girls must wear dresses courted by the guys. And as a kid, you know, I didn't realize how wrong that was to think that girls had to be one way. You know, I like, once I got to high school, the guys would like give me flowers and open like car doors and whatever. And the not like other girls phenomenon is because girls think of other girls as one way. And I feel like that's dumb. I feel like that's a really like biased view of the world.
Mm-hmm. The reason why there's more in-logs for girls instead of like NLOBs for guys, like not like other boys, is because I think for the girls, their stereotypes are a lot stricter. Like, you have to be feminine, you have to be sort of meek and subservient and kind and loyal and all those, like, weird words that are cool on paper but are really bad in person and stuff like that. So it's a reflection of how, like, toxic society is towards girls, the patriarchy.
Just with this phenomenon happening on the internet, I feel like that's already a statement to society about how wrong we're treating the images of girls and guys. Because now guys are seen as like, they're supposed to be like muscled and strong and play football and whatever. And whenever guys are like, oh, haha, I like doing other stuff, it's seen as like, oh, you're not like other guys. Okay, like I see you. Yeah, they are. Like, a bunch of guys are like that. It's just dumb.
I feel like in society, you have to be unique and you have to like stand out in order to like express your individuality, but you can only stand out a certain amount. Otherwise you're going to be like alienated and discriminated against because you're so different.
Yeah. So like there is a sort of limit to how special you can be, because you can be like, oh, I'm special, I don't care about what people think, I like horses or something, I like going hiking, I don't like wearing skirts, stuff like that, you know, the classic sort of special thing. But then if you're too special, if you become a gremlin in the woods, that is sort of crossing some sort of invisible line here, right? Now you're like going beyond society and you're literally becoming someone completely different and you can't really integrate with society.
Honestly, okay, unpopular opinion, but I think that all philosophers are contributing to the not like other girls, other guys phenomenon, okay? They're saying, oh, like, we think about the mind and about society, and they're like, we're not like other people, we're gonna go live in the woods and just discuss our feelings for like 30 years, okay? All philosophers are not like other girls, period.
I mean, when I was in my in-log phase, I was half philosopher. I was like, what is the meaning of life, you know?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So moving past that, like, now we're talking about if you're an adult and if you're still in that sort of phase where you're like, oh, not like other people, right? How does that bleed into, like, politics? How does that bleed into, like, your leanings? Like, let's say if all your friends are supporting this one person, like, do you think there's some people who support the other person just so that they can be special or whatever?
I don't doubt that people do that, but I feel like that's kind of dumb because it doesn't reflect your values, you know?
Wanting to be special in order to feel good is like, okay, like, I do that too. If I want to feel good, I just pretend I'm special, and that's like awesome.
Well, what does that do for you?
Okay, now we're talking. Okay, so I feel like if I am like special or whatever, if I'm smarter than other people, if I'm stronger than other people, I'm more able to contribute to society, right? I'm more able to pull my weight and become a very successful person. It would also make me feel more like loved and wanted and stuff, because obviously if I met someone who was like super smart, I would obviously want to be friends with them and like hang out with them because they're super smart. So if I was super smart, I would have a lot of people who would want to be my friend and stuff like that, and that'd make me feel loved and wanted, and that's good. That's where the dopamine comes from, I feel like.
So if you're special, then that means you're automatically like loved and wanted?
I think that's our thought process. I don't know if it's true, but that's why I get the little happiness thing.
I love that. But what does it take to be special? Like, what do you have to do to be special? Is there some sort of algorithm that can control whether people view you as special or not? Or is it just like you have to be different from the norm, you know? Like, what is it that makes you special?
Being different and advertising that you're different, I think that's all you need, really. I mean, for an algorithm, I don't think there would be one, because we don't fit in an algorithm. We have patterns, but we're not computers. We're not bits of code that like always act in a certain way. I think the only way to be special is just to see what the norm is and then act differently. And that's it. So I know on the internet, obviously a lot more opinions, a lot more people on the same server or website. So there's more people that you're going to be coming in contact with. So do you think that would up our chances of trying to become quirky, or do you think it would like lower it?
Okay, well, I mentioned this on a previous episode, but I feel like it's so easy to change your personality on the internet. Like, it's literally like so simple. All you have to do is be like, oh, haha, I'm a different personality. And okay, so I run a platform on the internet, and I'm a curator for like this like online community. And I've seen a lot of people pretend to be something they're not. I've literally seen people come to me and be like, oh yeah, I have multiple personality disorder. And then, like, we find out later that they were faking in order to be, like, quirky. Like, I've literally seen people do that. People do that all the time. People do stuff like that, like, literally every day. Like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, like, I'm just so quirky. I have this personality trait that other people might not have. Like, some people will literally fake, like, a mental disorder. Like, they'll be like, oh, my God, I have, like, severe depression. And then they talk about themselves for, like, 8 years, and like later we find out that they like actually don't, and they just wanted to talk about themselves. Yeah. It's literally so easy to change your personality on the internet, and I feel like with that in mind, a lot of people want to change to be special and something they're not. If they're not that in real life, then they can get it off the internet.
A lot of people want to be special because they need the attention. That's why so many people on social media like post unflattering pictures of themselves, and they're like feeling cute, might delete. All of that culture is so toxic in a sense, because all people want is the attention that they get from being special and unique. And so like going back to what Voica's saying, a lot of people fake illnesses, I don't know, just like socioeconomic issues. They fake that kind of stuff because they feel like they have no other way to get the attention that they need.
Do you think a lot more people have like a narcissistic personality? Like, I remember what Voica said, how that one person who pretended they had depression like talked about themselves a lot. Is that a symptom of being narcissistic?
A lot of people that are narcissistic, they tend to see themselves as better than other people. That's what narcissism is based off of, right? People with narcissism, they don't really see other people as their equal. They kind of lack empathy for others because they feel like they're better. They always feel a need to share about themselves, and they never take responsibility for their actions. And I feel like that kind of narcissism ties into being special in a sense, because if you're special, you can get away with a lot of things. You can say like, I'm not like other girls, and that's why I do this and this and this. And a lot of people are narcissistic because they feel like they're much more special and unique.
Yeah, and I feel like another aspect of being special is that a lot of people like don't respect boundaries, and I feel like that makes them feel better than what they're trying to do. When people listen to like what you have to say and then like go against that and just like don't respect boundaries at all and just like make life a mess for you and for other people, I feel like that makes them feel special.
Yeah, it's like projecting onto another person. And I feel like you're talking about someone specifically.
Am I?
Well, like, this whole talk is just talking about, like, narcissism and how people are so arrogant and they never respect other people's boundaries because they feel like they're so special that they have to share it, and they never listen to what other people say because they feel like they're better than everyone else and that they, like, deserve to be loved and they, like, deserve a certain amount of attention. Right. And that's why a lot of people just like totally disregard other people's boundaries and just disrespect them because they want to feel special. They need to be validated by other people. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get that validation.
Right, and I feel like some people, what they do, and that ties into a lot of like narcissism, a lot of people find other people that are special and want to like manifest themselves onto that and want to like take that for themselves. They do that by like emotional manipulation, and I feel like really toxic.
Yeah, I sense a lot of repressed energy, but yeah, I think just being special is inherently tied with being toxic because you can't really talk about how special you are without putting down someone else.
Right. And I feel like this can be applied a lot to like YA novels. You know, a lot of the time, authors will write on Wattpad or whatever she stood in her like ripped jeans, not like other girls, and he stared at her like hungry eyes or whatever. And like it's so dumb. But this cliche is applied to like every YA novel I've ever read. Legit, every time like the main protagonist will be some girl that's like different from all the other girls, and he'll realize that and he'll like instantly fall in love. And it's like, bitch, there are like 80 other girls exactly like her in the world, probably. Why you gotta be like, it's just sus. And it can be applied to a lot of literature. I don't know why, but it works so well. Like, I eat it up every single time.
I think what plays a big part in this I want to be quirky or whatever is our literature and what surrounds us, right? Like the chosen one thing. With Harry Potter, they have this like chosen one. Oh, you're special. You're the one meant to kill the bad guy. And that like hit me so hard. Because when I was little, I used to like eat up all those YA books. Like just eat them up.
I still do. The romance is why I exist. Literally. That's the sole reason.
I just love the tropes where it's like, oh, you're special and you have to power up or whatever. But I think that kind of reflects in how I acted when I was 10 or 11 with that in-log phase. Because I remember I was reading Warrior Cats, you know, the cat thing? And there's a whole phase about that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as some people, I know. But there was a whole phase around that. And I'm sort of ashamed of it right now. But looking back, I'm glad I had something like that. Because it was fun. It was fun to mess around and be like, oh, I'm a warrior cat, stuff like that.
I was telling you earlier, but last night I stayed up for like 8 hours, read like a 1,000-page book from like one of my favorite authors, right? And I was just staying up all night to read it, right? The whole point of the book is that like this girl is like not like other girls, and she's like half fairy, half like human, and she's the only one of her kind, and she's to defeat the bad guy. And it's like literally like that was the whole point of the book, and I loved every word of it. Literally, like, it was so good. And the reason is because, like, I relate to it, you know? Like, I want to be that girl that is not like other girls and, like, comes into this guy's life and, like, you know, is different and is, like, quirky and is like angry or whatever and like manages to save an empire or like stop an evil sea monster. I want to be that, you know?
A lot of YA books are centered around people not being like other girls or other guys, mainly for marketing purposes. Because if you make a book where the main character is so relatable that you can like project your own personality onto that character, then you're gonna love the book a lot, because you're like, oh, I'm also like this character, I'm also not like other girls, and I eat dirt for attention. If you're not like other people, then that's obviously gonna reflect in what you read. And like a famous example would be like Bella from Twilight. She's not like other girls, but her personality is kind of just bland. So it's really easy for young teenage girls to project themselves onto Bella, and then they can like thirst over Edward or Jacob. It's a lot easier for younger audiences to project themselves onto these like bland, not like other girls type of characters.
Exactly. And I read somewhere that all of fiction is just a way of projecting yourself. It's all wish fulfillment, basically. 90% of fiction is meant as wish fulfillment for both the author and the reader. And obviously there's 10% that's like, oh, contemplative fiction or dystopian fiction, like 1984, like no one will want to project themselves onto them. But most of it is just a happy ending for the character because the author or the reader is that character.
Right, and I feel like that's why it's so easy to write fiction, because if you, the author, can relate to the character, then the audience is probably going to relate to the character, you know, because everybody has that little part in you that want to be like different, that want to like stand out, that want to be more than just you living in a house and being a normal person. And that's why fiction is so popular, you know. I think without fiction and without the imagination and the tropes that, you know, make up a lot of the being special literature, we would be sorely lacking with that.
There's like this whole Reddit thread about how like r/I'm 14, this is deep, and it's all over Instagram. I think it's on TikTok. I've watched some of TikToks about it. It's hilarious, but like, is it true?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually seen that Reddit thread.
Seriously? I remember there was one about how they like took the words out of believe to make lie or something, like she believed and he lied, that thing.
Oh, I see.
Like, and then they're all teasing like all the teenagers, especially like 14-year-olds apparently, about how they think it's so deep, like, oh, you know, she believed him, but he lied and it's angsty and whatever. And we're in that age category. We're teens, right? Like, have you ever had one of those moments where you saw a deep Instagram post or a deep Reddit thread and you're like, oh, so angsty?
Literally never. All of them were just like dumb, trying to be deep. Like, I looked out in the sunrise and I thought, this is better than sunset. And I'm just like, all right, man, you do you. Like, I ain't gonna stand in your way of liking sunrise is better than sunsets. Like, it ain't deep. It's just your preference.
I feel like being a teenager, that's like your main period of like growth, reflection, and you're starting to realize like where you stand in the world, right? So a lot of teenagers, they have like these existential crises because like at this point, they're old enough to understand like what's going on in the world. They can't really do anything about it since they're so young, but they still understand that it's a problem. So I guess they take a lot of things to heart. Like, she believed and he lied. It's not really deep in a sense, but it's very woke. It's very open-minded. A lot of teenagers, they're very emo and like distressed just because that's like the main stereotype. And so like that Reddit thread, r/I'm14 and this is deep, that's just trying to mock the fact that so many teenagers feel the need to be unique and have such like philosophical thoughts all the time.
Going back to what we said earlier this episode about like algorithms and stuff, the best way to point out that you're special or unique is to pretend that you're smarter than everyone else or you're deeper thinking than everyone else. It's all about the brain here, because you can't say, oh, I'm prettier than everyone else, because you can't control that, right? But if you say, oh, I'm smarter than you, so I'm better, I'm more special, that's something you can change about yourself. You can make yourself smarter. So I think that's why there's a whole like Reddit thread. There's a whole community around how teenagers always find things deep and stuff. And I've been on that thread. I've been there. It's hilarious. But I have found some posts deep, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I have seen a post and I was like, oh, that is so deep. Oh my God, my life has changed. You know, if you search up like deep quotes on Google and you go into pictures, some of them are deep, okay? Not even gonna lie. But some of them are trash. And I kind of am sort of disappointed in myself that I can't find which one is which. Because literally sometimes I look at a post and I'm like, this is so deep. And then I look at the comments and they're like, oh, this is not deep at all. So I'm like, oh shoot, it's not deep. I'm not old enough. I'm not past teenage years enough to know that, oh, this is just BS.
I mean, each their own. Other people don't find something deep, then like they shouldn't hold that against you for not wanting to make fun of it. At the same time though, you can slap any like combination of words against a picture of a sunset and all of a sudden it's like deep. Like you can be like, I like the color purple because it makes my soul feel warm, and like smash it across like a picture of a sunset and all of a sudden it's like the deepest quote 2019. Like, I mean, a lot of people just use it to feel like they're like more philosophical and more woke than other people, but then a lot of people see through that BS. So
have you guys ever written angsty poetry like normal teens?
Yes. Of course, that's my jam. That's my thing. Angsty poetry is so easy to write, man. Literally, like, all you have to do is be like, my parents hate me, like, I hate myself, my dog hates me. I'm like, you got, like, a poem right there.
Okay, I don't think I've ever written angsty poetry. I have written shitty poetry, but not angsty poetry, which I'm proud of myself for, you know? Tap on the back. I didn't write anything angsty yet. Okay, on the topic of being unique and stuff, I'm gonna go full on meta. Do you think this like podcast is sort of us trying to be unique and stuff? Because I have had thoughts in the past like, oh, we're just making a podcast so that we can try and pretend to be different from other people, you know? Like, other teenagers don't have a podcast. Oh, or most teenagers don't, right?
Podcast is just a platform to voice our opinion. It's not unlike what other kids do, you know? People got their own outlet. Speak up this podcast.
That's true.
I feel like a lot of the opinions that we hold, they're not necessarily unique. Most of the opinions that we hold are pretty normal. They're pretty common. A lot of people think that, oh, individuality is like different, or that philosophers kind of suck because they're not like other girls, or like literature is very based off of making it relatable for readers. A lot of the opinions that we hold, they're very common. And even though we're different in a sense because we're using this podcast as an outlet to share our opinions, that doesn't mean that we're like better than other people, or that we're somehow smarter than them or more creative or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just get like imposter syndrome or something and I'm like, what is this even about? What do you guys think about like existential crises, midlife crises? I've had a bunch in the past like 3 years. Not gonna lie, that's one of the things I was like, oh, a lot of other teens don't get midlife crises. I'm so different. I'm so special. Ooh, ooh. Stuff like that. Like, what do you guys think?
if you get a midlife crisis, like at the age of 14, does that mean you're gonna die at like 28?
Oh shoot, man.
You're gonna come at my lifespan like that?
I feel like a lot of teenagers have like these moments where they're like, I'm in for the long run. Like, what in the world? Like, what's gonna happen in the future? How is my life gonna change over the span of like a few years? And that's basically the existential crises and like midlife crises come from, because people start to realize, like, I actually exist. That sucks. I'm not sure if like a lot of teenagers have that type of thinking, but I'm pretty sure some do, just because they're starting to mature and realize that they actually have to go out into the world and like interact with people and actually start looking towards their future.
I don't know if it's just because I'm hanging out with a lot of mature people, but I feel like this generation, there's a lot more maturity in teens. I've talked with a lot of my friends, and they've all had these like moments in their teenage years where they're like, oh shoot, I am in for the long run. What am I gonna do with my life? Why am I here? How am I not dead yet? Stuff like that, you know? And I don't think my parents or my grandparents or my great-grandparents, they probably experienced it, but they haven't experienced it as much as we have. We are mature. Let's just say it, okay? I don't want to beat around the bush here. I think we're pretty mature because we can talk about stuff like this without making immature jokes or talking about immature concepts. I think these concepts are pretty mature. I believe that Generation Z is more mature than the other generations when they were younger.
Are you kidding me, Yatina? That is BS. None of us here are mature. You can't just come at me, okay, and say that I'm mature and expect me to believe you. Get wrecked.
Okay, so I was reading this psych book from like the 80s, and the very first chapter was talking about individuality and like having freedom as a more modern generation. And even though that book was written in the 80s, it still speaks to like how we feel now as like one of the more modern generations. And Toffler, I think, he talked about how in the earlier generations, you really didn't have to think about your future or like what you were going to be in life, because if you were born a peasant, you were going to stay a peasant your entire life. If you were born like in the high ranks of society, you're probably going to stay like in the high ranks of society your entire life. So there wasn't much room to act differently or think differently or wonder what life would be like if you were of a different like social status. Whereas now you can be whatever you want and you can take whatever job you want. The whole like thinking about our future and like, I guess, being more mature than older generations, I think that stems from the fact that we have so much freedom and individuality now as like an entire generation.
I feel like we have options, you know, and that's like a reflection of our generation. We know we have options and we want to exploit them for what they are, because when we have options, we want to like explore those options and we want to see like what we can do and like what we can become. And that makes us like more mature and more informed than a lot of other generations. And especially now, I feel like a lot of generations aren't as progressive as we are. We're willing to accept like people's flaws and just like climate change. Like we're really like heavy on that. And I feel like older generations, they were grown up in their ways and they're like very rooted to their ways and they don't explore other possibilities like our generation does, you know?
Right. Like a lot of our generation is so like progressive and a little bit more open than other generations, but we still kind of have our flaws. Like most of us lack a lot of self-confidence. We're really modest in a sense, and we don't accept that we have like achievements that are important and worth recognizing. A lot of us are really modest and unwilling to accept ourselves as who we are.
I fall into that trap, and I think all of us fall into that trap, especially with the fact that there's a lot more people that we can compare ourselves to, especially on the internet and stuff. But I also think that there are some people who are playing modest as another way to like stand out and be special. Like for instance, if I was someone who was kind of low-key narcissistic and I wanted to like flex or something, and then someone says, oh, you're smart, or oh, you're so strong and sporty or whatever, I think nowadays it's expected for me to say, oh, no, I'm not smart, you know? Oh, I'm just average, you're thinking too highly of me. But I think that's another way for people to, you know, sort of double down on the praise. So I think modesty can also be a form of, like, praise-seeking.
I feel like that stems from the fact that, like, most people, society tells them that they're not special, they're not powerful. And so when people hear that, when they get compliments, they dismiss them really easily because they're like, oh, there's no way that could be true. And like, there's no way that you could think that highly of me. And then going back to what you said, Yvette, a lot of people downplay their achievements just to get praised even more or to get attention. A lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not that great. I kind of really suck. And then a lot of people will be like, no, you're not. And then they give a bunch of compliments. That would be a really good way to get people to give you attention and validation, because if you don't see yourself as good, the people that care about you will try to compensate for that by saying that you're really cool or really smart or like really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and I feel that. I mean, you know, modesty is also kind of like a leverage for people to like, they pretend to be better than other people and be like, oh no, like, I can't possibly be as amazing because like, I'm so modest and so humble with me.
Yeah.
But I've also done that. No doubt. But yeah, I think that this is where we're gonna wrap up. This is our season finale, y'all. We've done 5 episodes already. So our next season is gonna be Let's Get Political, and we've already talked a lot about politics in this season, about like, you know, our administration, our current U.S. administration, and about a lot of the issues that he's trying to like deflect. And I feel like, you know, we need to get more into that. And yeah, but this was a good episode. Let's wrap it up here and follow our Instagram, _PPP podcast. If you want audio previews, little clips, go on our Instagram. And also, if you have YouTube and you want to listen to this, check us out there as well.
And just a quick disclaimer for season 2. I'm probably going to mention this at the beginning of every episode too. We are going to get political. We are going to start talking about our opinions, and sometimes you may not agree with our opinions and stuff. And I just want to let you know that these are our opinions. They come from fact, but they are not fact. And yeah, just trigger warning, I suppose.
Yeah. This whole podcast is just one big opinion piece. So don't take everything we say as the word of God, because we're not. That's the tea.